As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized CIMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a CIMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the CIMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study Exam. Start studying the CIMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's another day. It's the 21st day in the month of March 2024. We are happy to be alive. Yes, thank God for life and thank God for our jobs. Thank God everyone still has a job, right? And thank you for the Institute for bringing this program to our doorstep. It's ICAN-ngr today, the 21st day of March 2024. And my name remains Fumi Olani, ACA. I'm happy to be here with you again, bringing you something that is very important, especially for accountants, especially for our career, especially for the jobs that we do. And right here, we're discussing evaluating the impact of recent SEC notices on joint audits, compliance under the Investment and Securities Act. You say, yes, that's very technical. Yes, we bring you technical. We bring you everything that you need to know about yourself, about your career, about the institute, about accounting, about anything that will make bread and butter come on your table. So right here, we are happy to be here, and I have a special guest in the studio, and it happens to be a very physical studio today. And I'm happy that I'm going to be having a special guest who is knowledgeable about this substance that we are talking about today, in person of Mr. Hassan Adewale Lawal, FCA. But I wouldn't read his citation yet. I would like to go on a break. And when we come back, I'll bring into the studio our special guest for today. Remember, tell a friend to call a friend to log into ICAN-ngr today, because it's very technical and we need to be technical to make all the monies that we need in this world. So we'll go on a break and we'll be right back.
As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized CIMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a CIMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the CIMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study Exam. Start studying the CIMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
You're welcome back, and it's ICAN-ngr this Thursday, the 21st of March. And like before we went on a break, I told you we have someone very technical in the studio, and I'd like to take the citation of the very man that can handle this topical issue for today. His name is Hassan, and Hassan Lawal, FCA, is a partner in the Audit and Assurance Service in line of Deloitte, Nigeria, and is currently the Audit Quality and Risk Leader of the West Africa practice of Deloitte. He has vast experience in the audit of clients in several industries, including consumer business, financial services, telecommunication, construction, hospitality, as well as media and communication industry. He has several years of experience in rendering exceptional services to global clients in several Deloitte offices in Africa and United States of America. And Hassan is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, and he has won the ICAN prize for the overall best qualifying candidate in Nigeria in 2005. He is a certified public account CPA Michigan and a certified information system auditor CISA. He is an alumnus of the Lagos Business School, the Gordon Institute of Business Science, South Africa, and the IESE Business School, Barcelona. He is an active member of the ICAN Professional Practice Committee and currently chairs the work group 2 of the Subcommittee on Practice Monitoring and other external regulatory matters. So we have in the studio this very erudite scholar, and we'd like to say welcome to today's event.
Thank you.
We are very happy to have you. And, when you talk about these publications that we are discussing today, I'll just give a background. He reached out and said, this publication keeps coming out, so we need to let people know about it. And that is what the Institute is all about, capacity building. You have to let the people know so that everyone is aware of what government is doing or what everyone or regulatory regulatory services are doing in Nigeria. And I will say thank you very much for bringing this to our notice, and we're happy to have you today.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we'll go right into the topic for today. You are the one that can tell us all about this publication. So if I would ask you, give us an overview of the ICFR implementation journey in Nigeria.
All right. Thank you, Fumi. And I think the ICFR journey in Nigeria started about 17 years ago. That was in 2007 with the enactment of the Investment and Securities Act, 2007. The Act largely regulates the capital markets, gives the powers and function of the Securities and Exchange Commission over the capital market, among other things. More specifically, Section 60 to 63 of that Act provides specific requirements for public companies with respect to ICFR, that is internal control over financial reporting. That section, 4 sections, the key provisions there are actually more about management responsibility on internal control over financial reporting, which deals with the need for management to establish and maintain effective internal control over financial reporting, the need for management to assess the effectiveness of that control, and the need for management to issue certification on the outcome of that assessment. So that section, the section also addressed the duty of external auditors to issue attestation report on ICFR, and also the need for both the management and auditors to publish their reports in the annual reports of the entity. So that largely is the provision of the 2007 Act, but for 14 years, the SEC did not enforce the implementation of these sections. But by 2021, a committee was set up, and after a while, SEC released what it called Guidance on Implementation of Section 60 to 63 of Investment and Securities Act. This broadly provides the implementation guidance for listed entities, public entities on the stock exchange, to guide them in adopting and implementing the ICFR. The effective date was put at 2023, I think it was 2021, then moved to 2023. So we are at the implementation phase now. But in that same year, 2021, the FRC also issued a framework for auditors on the attestation which is required by that section. So also the guidance was issued by FRC, but that was to the auditors to guide them on doing the assurance engagement that would lead to issuance of the attestation of ICFR. Now, that same 2021, FRC increased the scope of ICFR by releasing the FRC guidance on management reports for listed entities, I mean, non-listed PIs that are not listed. You recall that the SEC Act only addressed the listed entities. So FRC increased that scope and then issued guidance on for PIs that are not listed. That's effective date is put at December, on or after December 2024, which means that will come in at the end of this year. And FRC did that based on the powers they have in the FRC Act of 2021, Section 7 particularly. But I think you recall that Act was amended in 2023. So it's very important for us as practitioners to really know what are the PIs that need to implement in 2024, because it increased the scope of that PI beyond what we typically know as PIs. Entities with over 30 billion naira now qualify as PI, public interest entities. Entities that work for government at any level for up to 1 billion naira are now PIs. So these entities will need to implement ICFR in 2024, and of course, other requirements of PI will apply. So I just want to mention that for professionals to please go to the Amendment Act of 2023 FRC Act and get to know more about PIE. So, but that's 2024. I think the focus of the convention today is for entities that are implementing ICFR in 2023. So beyond the guidance that was issued, the SEC issued another public notice, and that was on the 19th of February, 2024, specifically on ICFR, more or less stating that there's some sections or paragraph of this section that may not apply. I think that's the essence of this session today.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much people could just hear PI. So, it is public interest entity. And then, you mentioned for the 19th of February circular, what was issued by SEC. So my question to you is the effective date of implementing the requirements of section 6, that's pertaining to section 60 to 63, now postponed? Has it been postponed? Does that mean it's postponed?
No, the effective date for implementation remains as earlier communicated by SEC, and which is for listed entities. The effective date remains the financial year ended on or after 31st December 2023.
Okay, so what really changed? Because I understand that SEC published this compliance of public companies with section 60 to 63 of the Investment and Securities Act of 2007. So if this was circulated again in February, what really has changed? What is the effective date then?
Okay, so what has changed, and I think it's important to remember that there are 4 sections in the Act which provides guidance on ICFR, section 60, 61, 62, and 63. So SEC expect that companies should still comply with those sections, provisions of those sections, with the exception of paragraph 2 of section 61, which deals with the need for entities to publish a director's report on effectiveness of ICFR. So you don't need to publish, but you need to then submit it to the commission as a separate report. Also, the notice also changed paragraph 2 of section 63, which deals with the need for auditors to publish their assurance report on ICFR. So which then means that auditors will also not need to publish in this 2023 financial year, but they will submit a copy to the commission as a separate report. So effectively, the only thing that have changed is the fact that both reports will no longer be made available to the public for the first year of issuance, which is 2023.
Okay, that's a good clarification. But are reporting entities still expected to comply with all the provisions in the guideline or in the guidance of the implementation of the ICFR? For example, the framework really provides for the implementation of section 60 to section 63 of the ISA 2007. So what would you say? How are people supposed to comply, or how is the implementation meant to happen?
Okay, so as earlier mentioned, the council still expect that companies should comply with section 60 to 63. Let me break it down. So the there's expectation, the commission expects that there should be full compliance with the requirement of signing officers to establish and maintain internal control, which is practically what is in section 60 in summary. Also, the fact that they need to evaluate that effectiveness, they still need to do that. That's in line with section 60. So that requires full compliance. Also, section 61, there's an aspect of it that requires implementation of implementation of system of internal control. That still needs to be complied with. However, for the first year of implementation, which is 2023, the paragraph 2 of that section, which requires that management need to publish that ICFR report, will not need to be complied with. Rather, that will be submitted to the commission. So when you then look at section 62, which speaks to the need to for the auditors to register with the commission, that still needs to be complied with. Any statutory auditor of public company needs to be registered with the commission. So when you go to section 63, auditors still need to issue their statement of on ICFR, the attestation report on ICFR. But the second paragraph of that section 63 will also, that's the only part that will not need to be complied with by publishing the report. Instead, that report will be submitted to the council directly to the commission. I think that's just what has changed. But there will be need for full compliance on other areas.
Okay, thank you very much. We're still discussing evaluating the impact of recent SEC notices on joint audit compliance under the Investment and Securities Act. And we have in the studio a partner with Deloitte, Mr. Hassan Lawal, and he's giving us all the nuggets that we need on this subject matter. So I'd like to recognize some of our audience to say thank you very much for joining us today. I've seen Kutei. I say thank you very much for joining. Imachino Modozie. Yes, thank you so much. ACA Chuku, Emeka John. Thank you, Uju Okeke, Osai Ogochuku, Esther Ajubi. Thank you very much for joining from Abuja. And I see Beto Blessing. I see Emmanuel Kayode, Awel Lawrence, Losin Ahmed, Adesomi Fasa, Onyema Emmanuel, Abidin, Tiamiu, Niyi Olajide FCA, Taufik Lawal, and so on. Please let your friends know or let your colleagues know that we're discussing something very educative today. I mean, you can buy it in the markets. This is just education right here in the studio of ICAN-ngr, evaluating the impact of recent SEC notices on joint audit compliance under the Investment and Securities Act. So I would like to ask you, Mr. Hassan, I said, what is the deadline for the submission of the recent of the requested ICFR reports to the commission?
Okay, so the notice did not indicate any change in the standard filing deadline.
Okay.
So for public listed entities. So what it means is that entities are still expected to file in line with their usual filing deadline, which in most cases for December entities will be, year-end entities will be on or before 31st of March 2023.
Okay, that's clear. That's very clear. So you all know the deadline for filing. Please just obey the law. You have to obey the law. And my other questions is, you know, the notices, they actually indicate that ICFR reports for the 2023 financial year, that it should be filed separately for review on compliance. But does this mean that public companies should submit the report and all the control assessment detail worksheets to the commission will be reviewed?
Okay, so the notice specifically mentioned directors' ICFR reports and the external auditors' reports. So those are the two that need to be submitted. The notice did not request the inclusion of any control assessment workings and all that. However, the notice also noted that the commission wants to have insight into the outcome of the control works, so which then means that the commission may request for those working papers. So entities and management are advised to diligently preserve all their internal working papers used for the control assessment.
Okay, so are companies effectively, are they filing an annual report that is different from the one to be made available to the public?
No. So only one 2023 annual report is expected to be prepared, filed, and published. However, the ICFR report and the external auditor's report will be submitted to the commission as separate reports. So it's only one report that will be issued and published, but the annual report will be one, but the ICFR and the external auditor's report will be submitted.
Okay, all right. So it's still ICAN on air, and we would like to go on a break. Remember to get your questions ready because we have Mr. Hassan Lawal in the studio, FCA, and he's going to answer all the questions that you have with regards to the topic that we're discussing today. It's based on the recent SEC notices on joint audit compliance under the Investment and Securities Act. We'd like to go on a break, and we'll be right back. So get your questions ready. We'll be right back.
As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized CIMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a CIMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the CIMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study exam. Start studying the CIMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Welcome back to the studio. It's still ICAN on air, and we're discussing evaluating the impact of the recent SEC notices. There are two different notices that SEC issued, and is on joint audit and compliance under the Investment and Securities Act. So we have the partner, and he's been giving us a lot of education. I mean, it's been giving us a lot of information about the subject matter. I will say thank you once again for being available for ICAN today. So I'd like to, we've discussed the first notice here. I would like to also touch base on the SEC public notice on the mandatory audit firm rotation in public companies, the one about the joint audits. So would you like to share some information about that, especially if SEC has changed the mandatory audit firm rotation rule?
Okay, no, SEC has not changed the rule. What they've done is just to align its own capital markets rule on external auditors' appointments and tenure with those of the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. And it may be good to give a bit of history here. Now, the history of regulation of this subject, the joint audit, started with Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance in 2018, which was issued by the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. So that code provides for a 10-year period for rotation of auditors to public companies. The code, however, did not provide a rotation period for audit firms in the case of joint audits. Now, what then happened was that FRC probably noticed this, and when they issued the audit regulation in 2020, they clearly stipulates that the maximum period of 15 years will be applicable for rotation of auditors in case of joint audits. Now, SEC did not have anything of that nature. So what SEC has done now is just to amend the provision of paragraph 32.2 of its Extant Consolidation Rule and Regulation of 2013 to harmonize it with the audit regulation of 2020, I think section 9.3 specifically of FRC.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. So if you're listening and you have your questions, please write your questions down because he's here to answer everything. So you're getting it right from Deloitte itself. And then, so my question again is, what is SEC actually seeking to achieve by this revised updates to its rule? What is the need?
So going through the notice, I think it was clear that the primary objective of SEC is to harmonize its rules with those of FRC. And the objective is to prevent inconsistencies and double standard in the application of rotation rules, especially in joint audit arrangements. So specifically, when you have regulators, the FRC position has always been 15 years, but SEC then directive is then to change the tenure of the joint audits in public entities, and also for capital market operators from 10 years to 15 years. So effectively harmonizing the position of the two regulatory bodies.
Okay, that's nice. So they've given us more years than currently do have. So, but does it mean that public interest entities are now required to have a joint auditors appointed?
No. So the directors of entities have the prerogative to determine the choice of the auditors they want to appoint, considering the nature and the complexity of their entity of the company. So there's no such requirement at the moment.
Okay, that's nice. I mean, that gives us a lot of comfort. But is the SEC update applicable to only listed entities in Nigeria?
Well, considering the requirements and the powers of SEC, the updates will be applicable to all public companies and capital market operators in Nigeria. So that means that it will be applicable to, of course, listed entities, including foreign issuers with securities, stock brokers and security companies, issuing houses, asset managers and registrars. So those are the capital market operators likely.
Okay, all right. That makes so much sense. But how is the revised provision of the SEC? How is it? Will the rules be applicable to foreign companies that are listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, for example?
So all foreign entities with security listed on the stock market in Nigeria are under the direct regulatory purview of SEC. And of course, they are obligated to follow all SEC rules and regulations. So it is believed that SEC update will be applicable to all foreign entities with securities listed in Nigeria.
Okay, so when is the date? I mean, when is the effective date for the implementation of the SEC rules?
Yeah, because the rule was just to align with an existing FRC rule. So the effective date is immediate from the date of issuance of the notice, which I think was 1st of March 2024.
Okay, thank you so much. And is still ICAN-ngr evaluating the impact of the recent SEC notices on Joint Audit and Compliance under the Investment and Securities Act? And we have in the studio a partner in Deloitte, in person of Mr. Hassan Lawal. I have some questions, or perhaps let me appreciate some of our guests. Some of our audience here. I see Pets Remy Ezugo. Thank you very much for joining from Delta State. I see Samuel Okubadejo. Thank you for joining. Tunde Korede. Thank you. Christopher Chukuma Anagu. Awel Lawrence. Thank you very much. Imachino Madozie. Thank you for joining ICAN-ngr today. And I see Amba Odo from Ibadan, your state. There's one guest audience that I am yet to read from, but it's okay, it happens. But I know that it's going to check on us very soon. Abiodo Ojo from Accra, thank you very much. Michael Ekunuga, I say thank you so much. So we've been having an exciting and insightful moment with Mr. Hassan today, discussing all that we need to know about the Joint Audit and Compliance notices that SEC issued recently. But we have some questions from some feedback from the audience. Samuel Olumide, he says, good evening, ICAN and erudite scholar, Mr. Hassan FCA. Thank you for impacting us professionally. We say thank you very much for joining us also. So Chris Osakwe from Anambra State, he says, saying hello to you too. And Nimota Modukpe also says, good evening, everyone, and she's reaching us from Abuja. Oyebisi Alamu, thank you very much for reaching out to us also. And we have Taufik Akim Temitokwe. Thank you very much for reaching out to us. So my question for you is, in the interest of those that are not practicing audits currently, how will this publication impact them? What will, for example, people that are in other things apart from audits like tax, there are also people that's in business advisory or things that are not related to audit per se. How can they use this knowledge in their day-to-day activities?
Okay, thank you. So I think what is important is that most companies actually, we serve as professionals, we serve companies in different capacities, as consultants and or as employees. So what is important is that when you work within an entity, it's important to know the laws that impact on that entity and changes in those laws. Now, for instance, when you look at the PIE definition that has changed and the application of ICFR based on FRC Act, it's important for professionals to know that there are some changes and there are companies that are probably not PI before will become PI. So for instance, if you have an entity that is private, purely private, but the revenue for that entity has now reached 30 billion naira, automatically your company becomes a PIE, public interest entity. And all the required application PIE regulation from FRC will then apply. So it's important to know this, and that goes beyond ICFR. So ICFR will apply from 2024, and other regulations will apply as well. So this knowledge is very important, and also it's important to have this updates to regulations so that in case of debate or consultation, maybe informal consultation from colleagues and professionals, it's important to have this knowledge, and that will come really handy and helpful.
Okay, so just to ask you as a partner and the one that really lectures on this sort of related topic, what have you done? I know the notices came almost back to back, right? So what are we doing to ensure that everyone is well aware? And we haven't mentioned if there are penalties and how much those penalties are, so that people are because we have global audience here and everybody wants to know what will happen if I do not comply, what will happen. So can you just shed more light on the penalties? What are the implications of this things not being done by the people that should really file?
Okay, so the notice did not state any penalty, but I think it did. One can read that that notice came out after market survey, readiness assessment in the market, and some other factors that SEC will have looked into. And what is important is that when regulators put out regulations like this, they have their reasons. They may not be able to share all the rationale on a one-page publication. So once a regulation like this is announced, it then becomes mandatory for market operators to comply. And of course, sanctions and the basis for that are most often provided in the Act setting up entities. For SEC, for instance, the Investment and Securities Act do have sections dealing with when the Commission wishes to implement any sanction and all that. And that may not be limited to financial sanction. They may also do some other sanctions. Similarly, for FRC, the 2023 Act clearly states a lot of sanctions that could be applied when regulations like this are put out and not complied with.
Okay, thanks. You know, when you were discussing the last time, you mentioned the 5 companies, or perhaps I should say the listed. When I asked about the listed, if it only applies to listed entities in Nigeria, I recall that you mentioned listed and unlisted companies. You also mentioned the registrars, the asset managers, and stockbrokers. So if perhaps I am the CFO in any of the company, what am I required to do in the immediate so that I don't fall I'm not behind the law, and I'm behind time rather, and I'm also complying with the laws?
So with respect to public notice on the joint audit arrangement, so if your entity do not have joint audit, I don't think there's immediate impact on you. But should there be reasons for entities to get into a joint audit arrangement, and also for auditors who are serving on clients, and as a joint auditor, this would impact on you. And of course, the list of entities that you mentioned will then become important.
Okay, so what should foreign investors, for example, what should they look out for when some regulations like this exist? And sometimes you just feel that if there's a publication like this, perhaps it is not in the public notice that there's going to be a penalty, but something will be done if somebody does not comply eventually. So would you want to advise, especially people in the diaspora or the foreign investors, on what they need to do, even if you are not there yet, you're not in Nigeria yet, you're planning to come to Nigeria to invest? What are the things you need to do step by step to ensure that you are in the law, within the law?
Okay, so for regulations like this, where there are gray areas or something is not clear, it's always good to speak to professionals, qualified professionals, and in fact, you can actually approach the regulator. And we've seen a lot of instances like that, even foreign entity that is listed in more than in Nigerian and also in other countries, approaching the regulators to get to understand how this applies to them and if they have a different interpretation. So it's always good to be proactive in engaging regulators. And I think that's one key message I'll give to foreign investors and all that. Engaging with regulators and engaging with professionals with appropriate skills in Nigeria will help.
Yeah, interesting. Yes, please. When you're trying to invest in Nigeria, you need to dot your I's and cross your T's so that you be within the law. But I also I recall you mentioning based on section 63, but I want to pick on subsection 2, where there's a requirement for auditors to issue a statement in the financial statement of every company, the annual report rather. So what would this entail? What exactly are they supposed to say? How should they say it? We're just teaching people. This is a classroom setting.
Okay, so the nature of reports that is expected to be issued by auditors in this circumstance of ICFR is guided by the FRC guidance on assurance engagement on ICFR. And this was issued, I think, 2021 as well. And clearly, it indicates that it should be an assurance engagement, and the nature of reports should be a limited assurance report. What it means is that you do not need to go to the extent of issuing an absolute assurance. So what you need to do is issue a limited assurance report. And of course, that requires a lot of steps in line with ISRE standard, up to the level of understanding the entity, the risk assessment, doing control testing, design and implementation. That is all you need to issue that report. However, because the SEC guidance requires that the companies must do operating effectiveness of control, it's important for auditors to also get to review that. It may be for your control identification, it may be part of your risk assessment. You may not need it for the report, but I think it still will be good to have a look at that. So the nature of the report, to your question, is a limited assurance report. And reading that guidance issued by the FRC will help as to step-by-steps on what needs to be done. Ethical compliance, independence is important, even though it's an assurance engagement. So I think I would recommend that we should take a look at the FRC guidance on assurance engagement that was issued in 2021.
Interesting. Thank you so much. I have some people here, some of our audience. I'll say thank you very much for joining. Abiodu Babajide from Yenegua, Bayelsa. I have Paradise Obada from Anambra State. We have Amaka Unama streaming from Owerri. We have from Benue State, we have Binde and Iwora Agara is from Calabar, and then from Lagos we have Temitope Akim Taufik saying hello to you, and Ngozi Monica Okonkwo is saying well done to you also. So we have Sunday Joe Nyang from Ikeja, we have Oladejo Stephen from Abuja, and then we have from Abuja also more love. We have Samuel Oluwasegun. He says, good evening, ICAN and Mr. Hassan Lawal, FCA, watching from Leeds, United Kingdom. Thank you very much. So Chidima Igbo from Lekki, thank you for joining us. Sunday Alebioshu, we appreciate you. Philomena Igbo, and we say Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It's been a very insightful discussion, and we hope that all the questions. Yeah, we have a question from Philomena Igbo. It says, in stock security, what's the implication of an extension to submit an annual account that is being requested?
Okay, so what is being requested is actually part of what entities had to submit before. However, that submission would ordinarily come as part of the annual report. That was the expectation before. But with this notice, the Commission is saying you do not need to include the ICFR report and the Auditor's Attestation report in your annual report that is published and made available to the public. However, you need to submit these two reports as separately. So the notice is not introducing a new report. The only thing is saying do not publish it, but make it available to the Commission. I think that's just the key update to that.
Yes, thank you. So, Mr. Phenomena, I hope that has been well answered, because yes, that is the correct answer to the question. Asana Silas, well done team, is saying well done team, and we're saying thank you very much for joining. Jonathan Ikpenu, say good evening everyone, brilliant discussion, well done, and we'll say thank you so much for joining also. So we have some other people just acknowledging you and saying thank you very much for doing this. Theophilus Dada, a lot of them right there. And want to say thank you so much, Mr. Hassan Lawal, for being part of ICAN-ngr today, telling us about the different notices, the two notices that has been issued by SEC, and telling us how we should go about it and the implications of not complying on the Joint Audit and Compliance under the Investment and Securities Act. It's such a pleasure to have you today in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, it's still ICAN-ngr, and we have a couple of announcements to make on the program for March 2022. So MCPD training program, April 3 to the 4th of April 2024, General Corporate Management Practice, and it's a virtual training at the rate of 20,000 Naira. And we have free faculty webinar, Assurance of Internal Control over Financial Reporting, Friday, 22nd March 2024. And the time is 10 a.m. It is free, and the credit hours is you would have 2 credit hours for joining the training. For voters education webinar on the 2024 ICAN Council election, the date is Thursday, March 28, 2024, and the time is 10 a.m. Registration is also free. Young Accountants Development Committee webinar is on Saturday, March 23rd, 2024, and the time is 10 a.m. is also free registration for 2 credit points. The new date and venue for the 23rd fellowship conferment as follows. The date is Saturday, May 18, 2024, and the venue is Arbor Point Event Center, Wilmoth Road, off Amadu Bello Way, Victoria Island, Lagos, and the time is 11 a.m. and the fee is 175,000 Naira to be an FCA. And the 73rd induction ceremony is scheduled to happen May 20th to May 21st, 2024, and the induction fee is 130,000 Naira. Registration closes May 10, 2024. So at this junction, we'd like to say thank you very much, everyone, for joining the program today. And last week, I recall we had an exciting moment with ICAN Canada. And remember to register. It is good to mingle with people in the diaspora, share knowledge. I mean, go there. You have exciting time. You know, they say accountants know how to enjoy. So please get ready, register for ICAN Canada District Society Conference. It will be very fantastic. And last week, there was the UK and District Society Conference, and at that conference there was a sign in the partnership between ICAN and SIFA. So that was an exciting moment. We had so much lectures that you cannot buy anywhere. So please always make it a date when there's a conference. Be part of every conference that comes to your doorstep. It doesn't matter how much, you can just try. You can save towards it, because education, they said education is actually not for free. Please try to learn and unlearn every now and then so that you become better at what you do. So at this junction, we'd like to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you to the Institute of ICAN for making this program come to your doorstep at every Thursday, 6 p.m. Get ready. Next week will be more exciting than you've witnessed ever, even in the past or even today. Next week we'll have very great ideas come to this platform through ICAN-ngr. So please get ready, and please always tell a friend to join ICAN-ngr. So also remember that we have our social media platforms. Please always follow us on every social media platform. Just click the like button and let everyone know about ICAN-ngr, because this is a free platform for everyone to learn. And we are very happy to bring you this different parts of our careers, different parts of the institute, different parts of everything that you need to know about accounting, about your social life, about your technical life, come to you through this platform, ICAN-ngr. You recall the last time we had women come into the studio to tell us about how we can live our lives and how we can be women, how we can flourish and we can do great things. So please always make it a date and make sure that you attend or you listen or you join ICAN-ngr. We want you to continue to follow this platform. So click the follow button so that every Thursday you get a notification to join the chat. This is a chat because we try to educate ourselves in a very informal and formal way, if you may say so. So at this junction, I would like to say thank you so much. My name remains Fumi Olani, and I'm happy to always be here with you. And please do have a restful evening, and please stay safe. Thank you. Good to have